More champagne, Mom? Elias asked, refilling my glass before I had a chance to respond. I gave him a hesitant smile, my eyes flicking nervously between him and his fiancée, Ariana. We were gathered for an intimate dinner to celebrate their recent engagement. Yet a knot of unease twisted in my stomach. To your happiness, Ariana cooed, clinking her glass against mine. I nodded and took a deep sip, trying to quell the rising apprehension. Elias leaned in, a conspiratorial look passing between him and Ariana. There's something we need to talk about tonight, he said. We're planning a huge engagement party next month. Only the best for our perfect union. I chuckled, though the sound was more anxious than amused. That sounds wonderful for you both. But such grand parties can be quite expensive, can't they? Oh, we're not worried about the cost, Ariana replied airily, waving off the concern, because you'll be covering it. It'll be your gift to us. I nearly choked on my champagne. I'm sorry, what? As Elias's mother, it's your responsibility. Ariana continued with a sense of entitlement. We're expecting you to contribute at least $38,000. Think of it as an investment in your son's future. I stared at them in disbelief. $38,000 for a party, I exclaimed. Do you realize how unreasonable this is? Don't overreact, Mom, Elias interjected. You make good money, and you've got all the inheritance from Dad. You can afford it. The mention of my husband, who had recently passed away after a long battle with cancer, reopened a fresh wound. I recoiled at their insensitivity. That money is my safety net for retirement. To ask for such an amount without even discussing it with me first is incredibly unfair, I argued. Ariana rolled her eyes dramatically, still on about being consulted. Come on, get with the times. You're the mother of the groom. It's expected of you to pay. Be grateful we're even allowing you to be a part of this. You should feel honored, Elias added with a sneer. Just write the check so we can start planning, he demanded. I sat stunned, struggling to process their arrogance and lack of consideration. Once more, I tried to appeal to my son's reason. Elias, please be sensible. You can have a beautiful celebration without such lavish spending. Let's try to cut back on some costs. Elias slammed his fist on the table, causing the glasses to rattle. I knew you'd be stingy, he yelled. What kind of mother refuses to support her only son? Tears welled up in my eyes as I faced their scornful looks. I had indulged Elias perhaps too much over the years, but I never expected such cruelty. Standing up abruptly, disgusted by their behavior, I said, I think it's best if you leave now. Ariana stood and grabbed my shoulders, her nails digging in. You don't get to back out of this, she hissed, her perfume overwhelming. Either you pay, or you can forget about any relationship with Elias and potential grandchildren. I shoved her away forcefully. Get out of my house this instant, I shouted. They left without another word, exchanging a triumphant smirk. My heart sank as I realized the celebration I had envisioned was now overshadowed by their greed and manipulation. The next evening, exhausted from work but determined to resolve the conflict, I prepared a simple pasta dinner, hoping for a calm discussion with Elias. The sound of the front door slamming and his footsteps approaching did little to ease my tension. Something smells good, Elias commented casually as he entered the kitchen and went straight for the wine cabinet. My spirits briefly lifted, then fell again as Ariana followed him in, her heavy perfume filling the room. To what do I owe this visit? I asked dryly, as I drained the pasta. You're going to love what we've planned, Ariana enthused, ignoring my tone as she searched through her flashy designer handbag. She pulled out a folder stuffed with brochures and invoices. All we need from you is to sign off on the $64,000 wedding package. I froze, a cold chill running down my spine. $64,000. I gasped. For a single day's celebration. That's outrageous. It's our special day, Elias complained. Don't I deserve the best? I appealed to Elias, trying to reason with him. Son, let's reconsider this. We can have an intimate and meaningful ceremony instead of this extravagant spectacle. Ariana slammed the folder down in front of me. Incompetent hag, who said this was open for discussion? She screeched, her voice filled with contempt. You will pay every penny to give your only son the wedding of his dreams. Rage surged within me. But before I could formulate a reply, a new voice interrupted the tension. Stop. We all turned in surprise to see my daughter Ava standing in the doorway. I hadn't even noticed her arrive amidst the heated exchange. Stay out of this, dyke. Ariana snapped cruelly at Ava, who was a bold, tattered graphic designer known for her alternative style. It absolutely does concern me, Ava retorted, stepping forward to stand protectively by my side. You don't talk to my mother like that. Under normal circumstances, I might have resisted her stepping in, preferring to handle things myself. But in that moment, Ava's presence was a lifeline I desperately needed. Elias threw his hands up dramatically. I ask for one little thing, and my entire family turns against me. He pointed an accusing finger at Ava. This is your influence, filling Mom's head with nonsense. She owes me this money and her loyalty. Ava crossed her arms, her stance resolute. Mom owes you nothing but basic respect, which you're clearly not reciprocating, she countered firmly. She raised you alone after Dad passed away, working tirelessly to give you every advantage. And this is how you repay her, with shameless exploitation. Elias had no reply, his earlier bravado dissolving into childish whimpers. Ava turned to me, her tattooed hand gripping mine. You stand strong, Mom. Set boundaries and demand the respect you deserve. I've got your back. The knot in my chest loosened with immense relief. My daughter's staunch support washed away my self-doubts. I would not bow down to these greedy, manipulative vultures for another minute. Drawing myself up to full height, I addressed Elias and Ariana with newfound boldness. You both have two choices. Treat me and my daughter with basic decency or get out of our lives. Ariana opened her mouth, likely to hurl more insults, but a fierce glare from Ava made her reconsider. Instead, she grabbed a whimpering Elias by the arm and dragged him out. I squeezed Ava's hand, my eyes brimming with grateful tears. How did I ever get so lucky to have a daughter like you? She gave a crooked smile. Just being a chip off the old block. Now, let's dish up that pasta and plan our next move. These asshats don't know who they're messing with. The following week was fraught with tension. Elias's incessant calls and demanding messages filled my phone, but I began screening my calls, unwilling to listen to his tirades. On Saturday, seeking a bit of solace, I went for a manicure. As I relaxed, my phone buzzed again. Normally, I would ignore it. But seeing it was Elias's number, curiosity got the better of me. Hi, honey, I answered cautiously. It's your witch of a mother, came Oriana's grating voice, making my blood boil instantly. I was about to hang up when I heard Elias in the background. Is the old bag actually taking your call? She's been dodging me all week. His voice then came clearly through the speaker. Mom, what the hell? I've been calling non-stop. Have you given any more thought to funding the wedding? The event coordinator is breathing down my neck. Before I could respond, Oriana's shrill voice cut in. Oh, let it go already. She's clearly a lost cause. There was a slap sound, presumably her hitting Elias's arm. Your mother is a dried-up, selfish prune. Once we're married, we'll change all the account passwords so she can never access our money. My eyes widened in shock at their audacity. Our money, I muttered under my breath. There was more wrestling. Then Oriana's voice continued. Why are we even still inviting her to the wedding? She'll just show up in some raggedy outfit from the clearance rack at TJ Maxx. Their raucous laughter filled the air, boiling my blood. But worse was Elias's reply. Right. And you know she's going to be all whiny about contributing to our future. As if that puny life insurance payout could compare to what I make in a month. The puny payout he referred to was nearly $500,000. Carefully invested for my retirement, not squandered on frivolities like Elias often did. His disregard and entitlement worthy. Ariana rolled her eyes and scoffed. Oh please, we both know it was your daddy's money that set you up so well at the firm. Without a man, your mother couldn't even manage an allowance, let alone a fortune, she taunted. Elias laughed heartily, joining in on the mockery. Hell yes. And we've put that inheritance to much better use, like those annual first-class trips to Dubai, he boasted, their laughter echoing obnoxiously in my ear. I was so furious I could barely see straight. With a forceful tap, I ended the call, my finger pressing so hard against the red phone icon I nearly cracked the screen. Those money-grubbing snakes. I had always suspected their motives, but hearing their disdainful words so blatantly shook me to the core. My hands trembled with rage and indignation. Ignoring the concerned glances from the nail technician, I threw down a wad of cash for the manicure and stormed out of the salon. I drove home fueled by a burning need to share everything with Ava. Thankfully, Ava was already at home, her motorcycle parked askew in the driveway. I burst through the front door, startling her as she lounged on the couch. The nerve of them! I raged, the words tumbling out in a furious rush. Ava's eyes ignited with anger as she listened. They're conniving, Ava. It was never about family or celebrating anything genuine, they just see me as an ATM, I lamented, the bitterness evident in my choked voice. Ava stood abruptly, her gaze piercing as she gripped my shoulders. Mom, we're not just going to sit back and take this. We need to gather evidence and expose them for the leeches they are, she declared with resolve, her fist smacked into her palm decisively. Contact the event coordinator. Get documentation of every arrangement they've tried to set up without your consent. And I'll dig into Oriana's background, too. There's something off about her poor little rich girl act. Hope rekindled within me, bolstered by Ava's fierce determination. We're going to shut this whole circus down, I affirmed, pulling her into a fierce hug, grateful for her integrity and strength. Over the next 1 week, Ava and I meticulously gathered evidence. Ava discovered through her research that Oriana's family was incredibly wealthy. Her father owned a massive real estate investment firm, a detail Oriana conveniently never mentioned. Look at this, Mom, Ava exclaimed one evening, showing me Oriana's father's LinkedIn profile. He could easily pay for their extravagant wedding himself. Meanwhile, I had collected financial records from the event coordinator that detailed the exorbitant expenses Elias and Oriana had racked up, all charged to my account. The total was already at $91,000 and climbing. We have everything we need to confront these swindlers, Ava declared, spreading the paperwork across our dining table. We'll invite them over under the pretense of discussing the wedding finances. Then we'll drop the hammer, she plotted, her eyes gleaming with anticipation. I followed through with the plan, extending an invitation for them to come over to finalize some financial details for the celebration. They took the bait and arrived right on time, Oriana's Chanel perfume preceding her as they walked through the door. Where's my check? Elias demanded immediately, his subtlety as absent as his tact. Oriana elbowed him, trying to salvage the situation with a forced, syrupy smile. Yes, do tell us the good news, she chirped. We have so many exciting decisions to finalize for our big day. I gestured for them to take a seat. Ava quietly passed me a thick manila envelope filled with our collected evidence. My heart raced, but my resolve steeled my nerves. I calmly spread the documents out on the table in front of them. Before we discuss any further arrangements, I have several concerns, I began, my voice steady. According to the event coordinator, the current expenses total $91,000. Care to explain? Oriana scoffed dismissively. It's the wedding of the century. What did you expect? I expect honest communication about finances and shared responsibility, I replied coolly. For example, why haven't your very capable parents contributed their fair share? I pulled out a copy of Oriana's father's business profile, which clearly stated his net worth was in the tens of millions. They could easily afford this, I said, presenting the evidence. Oriana's face went pale, while Elias sputtered angrily. Leave Oriana's family out of this. It's my wedding, my financial support, he argued, pointing accusingly at me. You're my mother, so just write the check. Having anticipated their denial, I calmly slid a pile of invoices and contracts across the table. Actually, these documents show otherwise. They have my forged signature authorizing non-refundable down payments totaling $200 million so far. Care to explain that? I asked. Oriana gasped dramatically. Are you accusing us of fraud? From beside me, Ava suddenly slammed her fist down on the table. Damn straight she is, she declared, her voice carrying a weight that stunned Elias and Oriana into momentary silence. Seizing the opportunity, Ava upended the rest of the manila envelope's contents across the table. Bank statements, screenshots, phone records, all irrefutable evidence of their deceit and manipulation scattered dramatically before us. It's all here, in black and white. Ava spat with unrestrained disgust. You two have been exploiting my mother's love and trust this entire time, never giving a damn about family, only caring about what you can swindle out of her. You were spying on us. Elias spluttered in outrage. Gathering evidence against your fraud, I corrected calmly. And now that everything is laid bare, you will cancel this sham wedding immediately. Oriana shot up from her chair, her nostrils flaring. How dare you? She shrieked. I will be marrying Elias with or without your money. She turned to my son, her expression softening into a pout. Back me up here, Elias. But Elias just sat there, pale and trembling, the magnitude of revelations rocking him into stunned silence. For once, the confrontation had rendered him speechless. Oriana rolled her eyes in disgust. You spineless mama's boy, she muttered, snatching her tacky designer handbag. She stormed out, pausing in the doorway to deliver one final venomous glare. "You'll regret this," she hissed at me. "We won't forget." Then she flounced away in a cloud of Chanel. I stared evenly back at my shaken son. "Nor will we," I said quietly. "Now leave." He scrambled up hurriedly. But just before exiting, he mumbled a soft but clear threat. "I'll make you pay for this." The day I had been dreading arrived. Elias and Ariana's lavish wedding. Despite our confrontation, they pursued their farcical nuptials, blowing through even more of the retirement money I had naively entrusted to Elias's accounts. There I sat, an unwilling participant in their twisted matrimonial circus. Around me, intoxicated guests reveled under ostentatious floral arrangements that cost more than my first car. The crowning glory, an 8-tier fondant cake dripping with handcrafted sugar flowers. Elias and Ariana's smug faces loomed above it all in a massive golden frame. Beside me, Ava slouched in ripped jeans and combat boots, her pixie-cut green hair clashing spectacularly with the pastel bridesmaid dresses. We silently watched the overblown spectacle unfold, barely concealing our disgust. Suddenly, the music transitioned to a bombastic wedding march. The crowd hushed in anticipation as Elias took his place under the altar's garish archway. My heart clenched. He looked so much like his father, tall and dashing in his tuxedo, beaming with charismatic charm. Not a trace remained of the petulant, greedy boy I had confronted just weeks prior. Radiant pride glowed from him as his bride floated down the aisle. Dressed in a frothy designer gown I had no doubt was charged to my credit card. Old memories and grief welled up. I had walked that same path over 27 years ago, naive and drunk on dreams of lifelong partnership and family dreams that soured all too quickly. My faith in love and devotion had died alongside my husband. And now the son we created together slapped me in the face with the same callous disregard. As the ceremony droned on, a righteous rage simmered within me. I could not bless this loveless union with my presence for another moment. I stood abruptly, ready to leave behind the spectacle and reclaim my dignity. As my chair scraped loudly across the polished floor, every eye in the room turned towards me. Ava grasped my hand supportively, giving me the courage I needed. I cleared my throat and met Elias's alarmed gaze, my voice resonant and determined. "I apologize, but I cannot stay silent about this travesty," I declared. Murmurs rippled through the stunned guests as Elias's face flushed crimson, his eyes shrinking under my bold stare. Before he could muster any response, Ariana shoved past him, her expression one of pure fury. "How dare you interrupt my perfect day?" She advanced towards me, her manicured hands outstretched menacingly. I stepped back, recoiling from her vicious energy. Ava immediately stepped in front of me, confronting the enraged bride. "Back off," she warned firmly, shielding me protectively. A hushed gasp echoed through the room. No one moved to intervene. Elias hung his head, refusing to meet my pleading gaze, offering no objection to his new wife's vitriol. My heart cracked. All illusions shattered forever. The greedy, spineless stranger before me would never again elicit my devotion or resources. I stepped around Ava to address the crowd, my voice rising over the murmurs. "Let all bear witness to this hollow, pretentious sham of matrimony," I proclaimed. "I hereby refuse any further enabling of these snakes and revoke all ties. The farce ends now." I turned sharply for the exit, my skirt swishing dramatically as I passed my shell-shocked son. I paused long enough to echo the often hurled threat. "You'll regret this." Then I strode purposefully away without a backwards glance, Ava right beside me, our shoes clacking a steady beat of solidarity out of that den of iniquity. We emerged into the watery sunlight, the doors cutting off Ariana's frenzied shrieks behind us. I took my first free breath in ages, relief washing over me as we climbed into Ava's waiting car. I patted my daughter's tattooed hand affectionately. "Thank you for standing by me in there," I said, feeling a weight lift from my shoulders. She grinned crookedly. "Are you kidding? I've waited years for a chance to tell Ariana off." As we peeled away from the lavish lies behind us, tears pricked my eyes unexpectedly, but for once, they were not from grief or regret. Looking at my beautiful, loyal daughter smiling back at me, I knew I would never stand alone again. In the months following the cursed wedding, I changed phone numbers, moved residences, and transferred my remaining assets, cutting off all contact from Elias and his venomous bride. I heard through the grapevine that they had indeed gone through with their honeymoon in Dubai, no doubt funded by what was left of my retirement savings. Let them gorge themselves on luxury, I thought bitterly. It's only a matter of time before reality catches up. Sure enough, barely a year later, Elias came begging. I returned home one evening to find him hunched on my doorstep, unshaven and reeking of stale cigarettes. So great was my shock that I froze momentarily, my packages slipping from my slack grip. Elias's bloodshot eyes registered a flash of embarrassment. He made a half-hearted attempt to help gather my things before mumbling, "Hey, Ma, can we talk?" I brushed past him silently to unlock my front door, gesturing him stiffly inside. He hovered awkwardly as I put away groceries with deliberate slowness, bracing myself before finally addressing him. "What do you want?" I asked bluntly. Elias cleared his throat. "I need your help. Just temporarily," he added quickly, as if that lessened the audacity. "I'm between jobs right now, and Ariana is pretty pissed that I can't cover her spending," he admitted sheepishly. "Absolutely not," I replied sharply, halting his rambling excuses. I crossed my arms, rage and satisfaction warring within me. "You made this bed. Now lie in it." Elias gaped, unaccustomed to such blunt denial from the mother who had once doted on him. "Come on, Ma, I'm desperate here. Can't you just spot me a few grand?" He wheedled, taking a step forward. "I'll pay you back, I swear." The audacity of his request, after everything, left me almost speechless. But I knew what needed to be said. "No, Elias, you need to learn. It's time you face the consequences of your actions." Standing as unyielding as granite before my estranged son, I stared him down with an icy resolve. "You had no intention of paying me back the first time you ransacked my accounts," I reminded him coldly. "What makes you think I'd trust your hollow promises now?" He flushed, a desperate look crossing his features. "I was wrong before, okay, but I'm still your son." With a swift slice of my hand through the air, I countered. "You forfeited that privilege long ago. I have no son." Pointing one damning finger at his shocked face, I delivered the final blow. "Now you reap what you've sown. Get out." He opened and closed his mouth, struggling for a response, but none came in the face of my unrelenting disgust. With shoulders slumped, J. Elias skulked out the door and out of my life, once again facing the harsh reality he so rightfully deserved. Before a wave of pity or regret could wash over me, I quickly slammed the deadbolt, sealing the door against any potential return. There could be no forgiveness for those who repeatedly betrayed my kindness. News soon reached me that Elias's flashy tech startup had crashed and burned in less than a year, my business connections having blacklisted the ungrateful leech. No investor would touch his dubious proposals. Meanwhile, Ariana, having retained to her father's deep pockets after one too many financial arguments, was reportedly divorcing Elias and had taken up with a wealthy octogenarian in Monaco. That night, Ava and I toasted their misfortune with cocktails, chuckling over rumors of Elias slinging burgers under an assumed name. Here's to many more years of her gnawing on those greedy bastards. I cheerfully clinked my glass to hers, affirming, no truer words have ever been spoken. Over the next year and a half, Ava's career soared. More high-profile clients clamored for her distinctive tattoo artistry and graphic designer. She even secured an agent and a publishing deal for her provocative memoir, a brutal tell-all about our family saga that was generating buzz before it even hit the shelves. Meanwhile, Ava relied on my sharp business instincts to manage her rapidly growing finances. At her request, I leveraged decades of investment experience to establish trademarks, negotiate publishing rights, and maximize profits. Watching her passions flourish under my guidance filled me with immense pride. Soon, Ava was a fixture in edgy fashion magazines and sought-after graphic designer. She purchased a sleek downtown loft as her business base, proudly showcasing the extravagant views she had earned through her prodigious talents. To celebrate Ava's rapid ascent, I decided to host an intimate gathering of key supporters and collaborators at her swanky new digs. The catered affair would mark her official emergence as an artistic visionary and independent powerhouse. As guests arrived, Ava greeted them with a nervous energy, while I directed caterers to artfully arrange free-flowing champagne and delicate canapes. "You have nothing to worry about," I reassured her as I straightened her smart blazer. "Just be your captivating self. These people already adore you." The loft soon overflowed with Ava's avant-garde inner circle, daring writers, leading publishers, edgy photographers, and even some A-list celebrities from her clientele came to toast their favorite tattoo visionary. Pride swelled within me as I listened to these influential figures celebrate my exceptionally talented daughter. Late into the evening, as we stood on the balcony overlooking the vibrant city lights, Ava squeezed my hand gently. "None of this would have been possible without you, Mom. You believed in me when no one else did, invested in me, fought for me. I owe you forever." I wrapped an arm around her slim, leather-clad shoulders, my champagne flute elegantly clutched in the other hand. Nonsense, my brave darling. Your soaring success stems solely from your vision and daring talents, I reassured her, beaming with pride and joy at the wonderful journey we had embarked upon together. I swept one arm across the gleaming cityscape before us. All this you've achieved on your own. My role was merely to facilitate the business deals, so you can focus on creating, I said, admiring the skyline that seemed almost to mirror the heights Ava had reached. Ava grinned, her eyes twinkling with a mixture of pride and mischief. Ah yes, well, I must have inherited your ruthless business acumen along with Dad's creative spirit, she replied, playfully clinking her glass against mine. To the dynamic duo, may we always prevail over vipers and thieves. I laughed heartily, filled with a maternal joy that seemed to brighten the city lights. Together, we had navigated through a crucible of greed and betrayal, emerging to bask in the glow of our self-made success. As the lively celebration continued behind us, I silently raised my glass to the sky in honor of her beloved father. Together, we had forged a legacy of integrity, courage, and hard work, a stark contrast to the world of entitlement and manipulation. This legacy now stood as a beacon of morality, a testament for all the would-be Elias of the world to envy for decades to come. Over the next 2 years, Ava's star rose in a spectacular trajectory, her career blazing a brilliant trail. Meanwhile, I heard through mutual contacts that Elias was floundering in obscurity and debt. His lavish lifestyle had temporarily sustained itself on credit before inevitably collapsing. Whenever Elias's name did surface, it was linked to seedy gossip and tabloid scandals, from Mariana's public affairs to his dismissal from a car dealership for financial irresponsibility. It seemed Comma was not finished with him yet. I observed these developments with a quiet satisfaction, confident our paths would never cross again. Having retired from corporate life, I now devoted myself to passion projects, indulging in artistic hobbies, volunteering with disadvantaged youth, and planning leisurely global adventures. I also decided to downsize, finding a serene bungalow in a picturesque coastal senior community. The lush gardens and peaceful walks with my widowed friends brought a new sense of tranquility I hadn't known I needed. Meanwhile, Ava had found her match in a brilliant software developer named Riley, whose vibrant spirit perfectly complemented her own. My instincts about him were instantly confirmed when, just months after they began living together, Ava excitedly announced their engagement, showing me the unique, geometric ring Riley had designed. "My darling girl," I exclaimed through tears of joy. "I'm thrilled you found someone so deserving of your tremendous heart." The private garden wedding Ava envisioned was a reflection of my own ideals from decades ago. No extravagant fanfare, just a profound commitment witnessed by a close-knit community. As we sat discussing wedding plans over tea and biscuits one afternoon, Ava hesitated before broaching a delicate subject. "Mom, about inviting Elias," she began, biting her lip. I waved my hand dismissively. "Let's not sully your special day by entertaining that notion," Ava sighed. "I just can't help but pity him, you know. He's clearly a miserable screw-up, but he's still family, even if he doesn't deserve it. I wonder if including him would be the right thing." Recognizing her enduring compassion, I reassured her. "You needn't compromise your principles. If a small act of mercy for Elias eases your mind, I can tolerate his presence just this once." Ava exhaled in relief and squeezed my hand. "You're the best, Mom. I knew you'd understand." Our sentimental moment was abruptly interrupted by my ringing cell phone. Glancing down, I was stunned to see Elias's name flash across the screen. Months had passed since his last desperate, drunken voicemail pleading for money. With a grim face, I silenced the call. "Speak of the devil," I remarked ruefully. Ava shook her head. "He never stops trying to worm his way back in. But don't worry, Mom. After the wedding, you'll never have to deal with his nonsense again." I smiled gently at her protective tone. She was right. The time had long passed for me to entertain Elias's self-pitying overtures. Now, I had everything I ever needed, right here in my tranquil life, surrounded by those whose souls nurtured mine. No diversions from a toxic past could ever breach this peace. I patted Ava's hand resolutely. "Onwards and upwards, my dear. Now, tell me more about those lovely flower arrangements you envisioned for the wedding."